from the Department of Communication in Phillipsburg. This is a special edition of Inside Government.
Hello, I'm Charity Dunker, and welcome to this edition of Inside Government. On this edition of Inside Government, I'm being joined by my two guests. From the Department of BAC, Interior and Kingdom Affairs, Ms. Angelique Gomes, which is the department head, and also she's accompanied by Ms. Andrea Ortega, who is also the liaison of Kingdom Relations. Both ladies, welcome to this edition of Inside Government.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, how are you both doing, by the way?
I'm fine. I'm doing good.
It's very good.
Well, we're going to get right into our discussion for this edition of Inside Government, where both ladies will be sharing information on the National Development Vision, what it all intakes and what we can expect, right, as a
Correct.
population of St. Martin. For Ms. Angelique, who is BAC?
BAC is a policy department, the Interior and Kingdom Relations within the Ministry of General Affairs. BAC has the responsibility, the mandate for several domains within the Ministry of General Affairs, such as Kingdom Relations, to which Andrea is the liaison, as well as National Security and Defense, Development Corporation, such as the SDGs, as well as donor coordination, so EU relations.
Okay. What is BAC's role in the NDV, National Development Vision? Ms. Andrea.
Well, as a policy department, it is not only our task to initiate certain programs and projects, but also to coordinate and support the overall policy development in government, since policy development is a key function in our government. So NDV is part of this. And that's why we not only initiated the process leading to a draft NDV, but we also coordinating it. And we are working closely together with all the ministries. This is not our draft. This is not only government's draft neither. So we work closely together with ministries. And to enable that close cooperation within the government, we also initiated a policy platform for all the policy workers from the different ministries. So we can really, get an integral work approach starting.
Okay. How did the government of St. Martin start the process to reach the National Development Vision, Andrea?
Well, that process started a long time ago, in 2013. We then initiated the program Building a Nation, St. Martin's National Development Plan and Institutional Strengthening. It was a program that we did in cooperation with the United Nations Development Program, the UNDP. And that program had several outputs, of which a socioeconomic database, St. Martin Info, that would enable us to monitor our socioeconomic progress, as well as a Millennium Development Goals country report in cooperation with Curaçao. The Millennium Development Goals were back then the 7 international goals and are now followed up by 17 Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs. And another output was a MAF report. MAF stands for MDG Acceleration Framework. And it was a report that identified ways to tackle the MDGs that we were lagging behind with. And one of the pilot projects coming out of that MAF report was the Spaceless Garden project in St. Peter's. The NDP was also an intended output, but we didn't reach there yet. And the NDP was envisioned to reach through a really extensive participatory process. We had a group of volunteers that was trained in a tool called the Democratic Dialogue tool. And those volunteers were trained to assist us in reaching out to the communities, to start consultations, to retrieve content for the NDP. Okay. But it was difficult to organize these kind of communities. We had major delays because not only of governments falling now and then, but also hurricanes. Mm-hmm. So at a given moment, when we had a lot of delays and it was standing still for a while, we decided to look for a different approach, because the format used was also too open. So we went back to our desks and we thought of a way to do a baseline study, to conduct a baseline study of all the existing programs and projects of our government, also previous programs, and we did a baseline study on our development, and it gave us insight as to where we are as a country in our development. And from that, we started deriving the development teams that are necessary to draft a vision. Then Irma happened, so that was another delay. We had the Building Back Better process starting. But Irma taught us that we were missing one important aspect, which was resilient. And as a SIDS, a small island development state, it's really important that we focus on building resilience, being prone to external shocks, etc. So we adopted that into the vision as well. And then in 2018-19, project leader within BAC drafted a roadmap to finalize the vision and focus on nation building especially. So our context, how can we introduce this vision and make it our own, not only government, but our own. And that is where we are now.
Stay tuned, we'll be taking a break. And on this edition of Inside Government, when we return, we'll continue in further discussions on the National Development Vision.
We building a nation, that is strong, real strong. Building a nation, that is sweet, so sweet. My sweet St. Martin land, surrounded by beach and sand. Come let your voices be heard. We're growing stronger, stronger together. St. Martin development is about you and me, living in unity in this new country, seeing the vision, moving forward, stronger together. A nation that is strong, real strong. Building a nation that is sweet, so sweet. My sweet St. Martin land, surrounded by beach and sand. Come let your voices be heard. We're growing stronger, stronger together. St. Martin National Development Plan. Share your voice, shape your future.
The Department of Communication, also known as DCOM, is a multimedia service department under the Ministry of General Affairs. DCOM also serves as Emergency Support Function 8 before, during, and after a disaster, once the Emergency Operations Center has been activated by the Prime Minister. Once an official weather bulletin has been received from Met Department St. Martin, it is immediately channeled through the various media operations executed by DCOM. The weather bulletin in its written form can be accessed by the general public via the official government website stmartingov.org. If you're a Facebook user and you have liked and follow our Facebook page, facebook.com/SXMGOV, you will receive a notification that the weather bulletin has been posted. You can also follow our St. Martin Gov TV production of official national messages delivered by the Prime Minister as chairperson of the Emergency Operations Center via the official YouTube channel of the Government of St. Martin at youtube.com/Government of St. Martin. The messages also can be accessed live via St. Martin Gov Radio 107.9 FM or audio on demand via the Government of St. Martin SoundCloud that is posted to our Facebook page as soon as updates are issued about weather or government operations before, during, and after a storm or hurricane. The Department of Communication understands that during any type of disaster, communication is critical. So we encourage the general public to pay close attention to the official channels of information provided by the Government of St. Martin via DCOM so that you are properly informed and alerted to any approaching threats and for up-to-date and accurate instructions to follow before, during, and after any disaster.
What is the National Development Vision and what is the role a National Development Vision plays, Ms. Angelique?
A national development vision is basically a broader vision for the country. So it is where we want to be in the coming, in this case, 10 years. The role of a national development vision is that it will anchor our development going forward. It's basically a social contract where we all come to an agreement as to where we want to be, and then we all commit to that agreement. The difference with a national development vision and a national development plan is that the plan will articulate how we're going to get there, but the vision describes where we want to be and what it should look like. That's one of the reasons we also needed to change and reconceptualize how we intended to get to a national development plan. Because before you have a plan, you need to have a vision. You need to know what that looks like, where do you want to be, how big it's going to be or how small it's going to be. So we decided to focus on a national development vision, and we also decided to concentrate on the development themes that are key development priorities for St. Martin. And we utilized the baseline study as well as other studies that have been executed to derive to a national development vision.
Okay. Even though you touched base in your previous answer to the question, the difference between a plan and a vision, for our listening audience who probably did not really grasp that very well.
Mm-hmm.
Can you please elaborate more on that, Ms. Angelique?
The difference between a plan and a vision is that, in simple terms, a vision is an umbrella. The umbrella will have everything you can possibly think of that you believe is where you intend on being in the next 10 years, or what you would like to look like as a country in the next 10 years. How you get there is a different situation. And how you get there, a plan will describe that. The plan will describe the steps to get there. The plan will describe the projects to get there. But the vision will say what your end point is for the next 10 years. And that is the difference between a national development vision and a national development plan. It's key. That is the key part in this entire process is, and I will repeat again, we cannot have a plan without a vision. And that's why it's very important for us to come to a consensus on this draft national development vision. We continue to say draft because the vetting and validation will now take place in general.
Okay. Thank you for the clarity on that as well. Will there still be a national development plan?
Well, yes.
In the future, Andrea?
Yes, we need a plan to carry out the project and program that leads to a vision. So the vision leads as a guide, and it's now, well, not now. Once it's validated, we have to align all the existing programs and projects, see if there's gaps, then we have to formulate other projects that would reach to those intended visionary goals. And it's also important to create an M&E, monitoring and evaluation system, so we can monitor our progress and to see if we need to make adjustments here and there.
Structure base. If you could please share with our listeners and viewers the structure plan. What can we expect content-wise?
Well, it starts with the main objective. The main objective is to transform St. Martin into a compassionate, strong, decisive country that is economic resilient, that is capable of sustaining itself, and that provides an enhanced quality of life for not only this generation, but also the generations to come. As I mentioned, resilience is a red thread. It touches all the development teams that are incorporated into the vision. And the teams are divided over 3 pillars. Pillar 1 is a strong and compassionate society.
Yes.
Then we have a second pillar, and it's an economic resilient country. And then the third pillar is an ambitious and decisive country. And underneath these pillars, we have the different teams, we have the visionary goals, we have the targets, and these are also aligned to the international sustainable development goals. So that's the structure: objective, pillars, teams, goals, and targets.
Were stakeholders also involved in drafting this vision, and how so?
They were somewhat involved from the beginning. with the volunteers that I explained, through the dialogues, the community dialogues that were executed. All the content retrieved was documented, and we use that to formulate the teams and the goals. And of course, now it's time to consult all the stakeholders, the broader public again, so they'll be involved once more to validate this draft.
In the area of stakeholders, which branches they all came from or represent?
Well, in the beginning, it was rather broad. We just looked at the communities and the private sector stakeholders. They were involved in the voluntary aspect. They were trained for the dialogues. And right now, we have divided them really over the 3 pillars. So we're going to organize workshops. And for Pillar 1, the compassionate and vibrant society, we have teams like culture, education. So we have aligned stakeholders to that to give their feedback, because they are the experts. So we're going to really ask them, is there something missing? Are there gaps? Can you contribute to this? And that also is the same for the other pillars.
What are the next steps for the National Development Vision, and how can the public be more involved?
The next steps, validation, vetting of the draft that we have now. The draft is online. You can find it on our website, stmartingov.org, as well as on our Facebook page. We asked everyone to review the document and provide us with your feedback. There's an email address as well, nationaldevelopment@stmartingov.org. But aside from that, as I said before, workshops will now take place, as well as community outreach. And community outreach entails polling of the community. So we will be going into the neighborhoods to get their thoughts and their comments and their feedback on it as well. It has to be an inclusive document. It has to be a participative document. So instead of just leaving it as is and telling everyone to go and read it, is why we think the community outreach is also very important. And that's key to this document, seeing that it is our future for the next 10 years.
Okay. For further questioning, you mentioned the Facebook and also website page.
Yes.
If you can kindly repeat that again for the audience.
So it's on government's website, www.stmartingov.org, as well as the Facebook page of BUC, the Department of the Interior and Kingdom Relations. We also have an email that you can send your comments to, that is nationaldevelopment@stmartingov.org, as well as you can post your comments on our Facebook page, because we monitor that as well. During the workshops, there will be the opportunity for persons that are watching digitally to provide their comments and input as well, so that those two will be taken into consideration in deriving to a final draft National Development Vision. So we're looking forward to it.
Yes.
It's going to be exciting.
Thank you both ladies very much for joining me on this edition of Inside Government. To our radio listeners and television viewers, also thank you for tuning in and being a part of this Inside Government interview. For a rebroadcast or video on demand, be sure to log on to the official government website at stmartingov.org. For a rebroadcast on radio, do tune in, St. Martin Gov Radio 107.9 FM. On behalf of our team at the Department of Communication, I'm Charity Dunker. Thank you very much for tuning in.